What's the best money you've ever spent? Not my money, but here goes. 6 years ago, while in college, I drove a buddy of mine to pick up a used car he bought for $500. While driving the car back to campus, the engine threw a rod and he ended up stuck on the side of a country road in northern Washington. He waited for an hour and nobody drove by. It was getting dark and he could see a light in the distance, so he figured he'd borrow a phone. After walking towards the light a while, he realized the road he was on curved off and didn't lead to that light, so he had to trek through the forest a bit, apparently. He was a half mile or so into this forest when he loses sight of the light, can't figure out which way is back, and is basically lost. Right about then he finds a bench. A bench sitting in the middle of the forest. No cliff or view or trail, just a bench. He kept moving but ended up back at the bench, proof that he was lost. So he decided to wait until morning sleeping on the bench. He spent the remaining light staring at a phone number someone had carved into the bench. The next morning, it's light out so he can't see the light he followed the night before, so heads back towards the car and finds the road he was on before. When he gets to the car, a cop is there. My buddy explains what happened to the cop, and it turns out the cop knows the people that sold him the car. He drives my buddy back to their place and tells them what happens. Okay, so this is where it gets cool. First, the people were completely embarrassed the car broke down so quick and gave him a truck that only had 55 Kelvin miles on it. It was old but it still runs today. Second, he dialed the phone number on the bench and reached an answering machine with an old lady's voice on it. He thanked her for the bench in the middle of the forest since he slept on it, and left his name and number in case she wanted to call back so he could thank her personally. A week later, a girl calls to say this was the last message on her grandmother's machine and wonders why her grandmother's phone number was on a bench in the middle of the forest. He offered to take her to it to show her, and she accepted. In his newest truck, he drove down to what turned out to be the house with the light, met a beautiful Scandinavian woman, and flirting the whole way took her to the bench. It was a quick hike from the house to the bench. Turns out the bench was made by her grandfather, as he did woodwork, but nobody in the family had ever heard of him making a bench. She probably thought it was sweet to find a bench her grandfather made. It's probably why she agreed to go out with him. A few weeks later, he's back at the grandmother's house helping his new Scandinavian girlfriend move stuff out to be sold, stored, thrown away. He finds a picture of the old people sitting lovingly on the bench and made sure to set it aside. The next week, he had to head out to that county again to fill out paperwork over the broken and now abandoned car he originally bought. Sitting in some government office up there, he had to wait an hour with a really friendly Arabic dude for the single official who worked there to return from lunch. They became fast friends and made sure to keep in touch. Fast forward to the present. He married the Scandinavian. They have a new baby girl and live in Spain working for some rich Saudi prince that pays them to travel to his various houses in Europe and oversee his houses and investments. You guessed it, same dude from the waiting room. So he spent $500 on a car that didn't work, but ended up with the newest truck, a gorgeous wife, and a dream job. Kept the bench too.